Hi there, welcome to the latest episode of my 10-minute moan. And this one is an absolute belter. This one nearly get me speechless, right? The topic of this 10-minute moan is Swinney's reaction today at First Minister's questions when he was challenged on the Matheson situation. Now, I've just done a video about an hour ago where I was revealing the sanctions that the cross-party committee of standards suggested would be suitable punishment for Matheson after his mobile device roaming charges carry on, right? Where they had suggested a 27 sitting day ban and 54 days without wages, right? Now, what happens with that process? That now has to go to the full Parliament to vote on. And you would kind of think it's a cross-party committee, that's a shoe-in. Bye-bye, Michael. And I was suggesting in my video that they should have a by-election to get a shot at him. And the country's going to the polls on the 4th of July. Fantastic. Saves costs. Good people of Falkirk get two papers, one for Westminster and one for who they want as their new MSP. Now, what happened after that? I put the video out. Douglas Ross was the first to question Swinney at First Minister's questions. And he later on, he actually suggested the exact same as me. That, we're going to the polls anyway on the 4th of July, give the people, sack Matheson and put a new MSP in place for the constituents in Falkirk. Then the camera went, Matheson was there, right? And I'm going, what's he doing? Why is he in Parliament today? He's never been there since, well, he was to vote against a vote of no confidence or something. But it was important, obviously. They wheeled him and Sturgeon into Parliament that day to get the votes off them. But and my initial thought, Swinney started talking. His introduction was to the question was, Michael Matheson is a friend of mine. I just want to put this out there. He's a friend and a colleague, and I've known him for a long time. And I thought, he's getting the bump here. That was my genuinely initial reaction because of the way Swinney started his response. I thought, Matheson's gone right now. How stupid was I? What he then went on to do was not only show his full support for Matheson, and the examples given why we should support Matheson was the fact that he paid back all the money, so there was no cost to the public purse. Let me remind you, Mr. Swinney, he only paid it back after he got caught. The crime had already been committed at that point. Okay? He knew fine well the bill was there. He paid out of his own office funds £3,000 towards the bill when it first came in. So he knew the bill was wrong. Right? And I thought, what am I hearing here? Where is this going? He then declared that there was the process was flawed because Annie Wells had prejudiced the process by being on the committee. And then said that he would not support the sanctions of the committee, the sanctions suggested by the committee that need to go. And I'm not sure whether that's today, tomorrow, or when that happens, but that will get voted on by Parliament. He said he will vote against that. He will not support that. And you're like, what? What is actually going on here? Now, then it went back to Douglas Ross, who said that the Conservative Party would be putting a motion in, I would imagine next week, calling for the resignation of Matheson. And he said he wouldn't support that either. He thinks Matheson should have 0 sanctions against him because he's his friend and he's a good guy and he paid it back. And the claims that the whole process was flawed. Now, what he's saying it's flawed is because Annie Wells had made public comment out with the committee suggesting that she thought it was done wrong. Now, I've not done it yet. I'm trying to get compile a list of those who were on the committee, and I'll guarantee you that somebody would have prejudiced the committee by saying good things about Matheson and the whole tip, because this thing's been going on since November. So I think it's completely impractical to find nobody on the committee, particularly the SNP MSPs on that committee, that would have said they would say nothing in support of Matheson in that whole timescale. This thing is mental. Now, if he's already said he's not going to support the sanctions of this cross-party committee when they go to a vote, if that stance remains and is the stance by his government ministers or the SNP MSPs, the wider government, I think the opposition must call a vote of no confidence. How can a guy who stands up and his first gambit is Michael Matheson is a close personal friend of mine and colleague, I'm going to support him here, and go totally against the wishes and the findings and the recommendations of the Standards Commission, which is a cross-party committee, and remain in government? That's just... it just blows your mind that they cannot get away with this. And if the opposition let them get away with this, then they are... trying to think of the correct word here. Is that a dereliction of duty? I believe it probably is, because if they cannot see the wrong in what John Swinney's about to do, then they shouldn't be in opposition. So the natural conclusion to this, if it remains the same and he stands by his guns, which I think he will, the opposition don't call for a vote of no confidence in him or his government, or both, like they did a couple of weeks ago with Humza, then they're failing the people of Scotland, not just the SNP. Then the whole thing doesn't work, right? Because this is scandalous. This has got to cause ripples throughout the country. The only thing that might save them is because everybody's talking about a general election, right? But believe me, when you sit down and consider what has actually happened today in First Minister's questions, it is abysmal. The First Minister of Scotland is refusing to support the findings of a committee, a cross-party committee, put in charge to decide on the standards acceptable in Holyrood. And the other thing he claims that he'd already written to the committee with his concerns of prejudice. Now, if that is the case, and I imagine it to be true, I don't think he's that stupid that he would lie about that. If that has indeed happened, then the committee in its entirety would have plenty time previously to have considered his concerns and react to his concerns. Now, the fact that Annie Wells was not asked to remove herself from the committee, I think it's fair to suggest that either A, John Swinney's lying about his complaint in the first place, or two, the committee had decided that there was no problem with Annie Wells having made comment outside the committee. But John Swinney would have you believe that this whole process is unfair. What I was disappointed with as well was the opposition. They were probably gobsmacked, to be fair, so cut them a bit of slack with the responses that they were getting for their very valid points. But none of them had the wherewithal to suggest and ask him a straight question, and ask him simply, well, what punishment do you think should have been given? Do you feel the punishment was unfair? Now, you can discuss the process all you like, but that process led to a decision. And nobody asked them the simple question, do they think that decision was fair? And that would have been a troublesome answer for him. Because members of his own party agreed on that committee to those sanctions. I listened to the end of the debate today. I listened to them deliver in the committee room their decision. And you're like, okay. And it's just cronyism, isn't it? It's just, I genuinely, I don't see this look of shock on my face now. That's not an act. That's genuine. Like, but I shouldn't be surprised. I'm doing these videos now since November 2023. I should not be surprised by anything that this SNP party do. But today, this one's just like, what? I was actually rubbing my eyes thinking, am I seeing and hearing what is actually happening here? Is this a parody? The First Minister of Scotland, standing by a man who didn't attempt to rob the public purse of £11,000. He did. He has been found guilty by the Standards Commission of doing so. That's not open for debate. But John Swinney suggests because he paid it back, then that's all right. So that leads me to consider, if John Swinney thinks that's all right, if whoever has the missing £600,000 at branch firm investigations looking for, see if they pay that back, is that all right? Because that's the same. That's the logic that you're applying to this argument. That as long as it's paid back, it's all right. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. However, do us a favour, click a thumbs up button in the video, that would be great. And unless you're John Swinney, Michael Matheson, or any of the cult that actually believe his words today in Parliament, everybody else, have a great day. Cheery bye now.